Well, welcome everybody. I'm David Glasser. I'm the chairman of the museum, and I hope you've spent some time looking around the exhibition before you've arrived here. But if you haven't, please look around the exhibition afterwards, because that's the real star of the day, the exhibition. We were trying very hard to get Nigella Lawson to come today, but unfortunately she couldn't make it, so I am the substitute, because we're actually not going to talk about art and exhibitions and the role of museums at all. This is a completely false pretense. We're actually going to, I brought you here to talk to you about bread. So for example, I want to show you this. This is actually, to you this is a roll, but as a Glaswegian, this is a very important roll. This is a Scottish bap. Okay. Already lost 2 customers. Okay. I promise you that we go back to the art, but it's a Scottish bap, okay? But it's bought in London. And this is an Italian roll. And I can never pronounce it. How do you pronounce it? Ciabatta. 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 It's an Italian roll, bought in London. And this, I'm sure, is an English roll, bought in London. And this is a French roll, a croissant, bought in London. And then we've got the pain au raisin, and we've got the this and the that and everything else. Why on earth is somebody who spent the last 15 years of their life immersed in museology and museums and the impact of museums and what place it has in society, why would I be calling you here to talk about bread rolls? Well, I want to talk to you specifically about the bagel, or even a raisin bagel, or another 20 different varieties of bagels. Why? Because it's the bagel that inspired the new Ben Uri. You could even say that we've created a whole strategy that's got a big, big hole right in the middle of it. Okay, so what am I talking about? It's this. The theory behind Ben Uri in its second 100 years. Has anybody got it? If each community, if each country keeps its own prized cultural possessions, heritage, its eating habits, its special recipes, its special art, its special buildings, its special literature, its special music to themselves, then globalization as we know it can't exist. The Jewish community is a tiny community in the world at large, and a tiny community in Britain. There is a wall, a complete wall outside that illustrates the immigration, the ethnicity of just 22 out of 380 different communities in London. From 1901, each census, each 10 years to 2011. And out of nearly 4 million immigrants in London today and immigrant stock, the Jewish community only represents now around 150,000. Tiny, tiny community. The Indian community is 250,000. Yet, what is the most popular meal in the United Kingdom from John O'Groats to Land's End? Chicken tikka masala, exactly, spot on. It's a curry. So here you have, in proportion, a tiny community, but whose one staple diet, the curry, actually dominates the carry-out and fast food business of this country. So we have globalization within and outside this country. The bagel. Anybody know the history of the bagel? 16th century, Poland. It's hundreds of years old, from Central Europe. In the 19th century, it was a staple diet in Poland and Slovakia and the countries around. And today, in London, everybody knows what a bagel is. Tesco's. This is not from a Jewish kosher bakery. This is Tesco's. available in every shop, in every Tesco Express, probably 1,000 stores across the country. And what on earth has this got to do with Ben Uri? Well, I'll tell you. Because the artists that we have in our collection, principally emigre, principally foreigners who came to this country, this amazing country of ours, who made Britain their home, are not Polish, Czechoslovakian, Prussian, Russian, American, Yugoslavian, wherever. They became part of British society. They never lost their home identity. But in parallel, simultaneously, they adopted Britain as their home country. And we adopted them. Just as Britain and the world has adopted the bagel. We want our art and our artists and the work that they produce to be enjoyed, shared, exposed, communicating, engaging, overlapping with everybody in the country. And that's the basis of the Ben Uri philosophy. It's about art, identity, migration. Of course, it has a hugely powerful and strong and proud heritage within the Jewish community. It's our origins. We were founded in 1915, 100 years ago, in the heart of the Jewish ghetto in Whitechapel. But 100 years later, our story of migration at the turn of the century and then in the middle of the century, before the First World War and then before and those few who survived the Second World War and the Holocaust, that is the core of our collection. That's a part, the Jewish community is defined by these experiences. But it is a universal story. I say in the catalogue, and I say in this note, which we actually republished, which gives you the whole statistics of migration to this country. I talk about in the essay the fact that at this moment in time, and it's absolutely this moment in time at 12 minutes past 1, today the 3rd of December, somebody is flying first class in an airline, whether it's an American airline or Japanese airline or Chinese airline, Russian, it doesn't matter. They're traveling first class to London with their family. They are moving from one city to London. They are migrating. They are on a journey of movement. And when they arrive, they will go through customs on the express ticket, the priority ticket. They will go into a chauffeur-driven limousine. They will be taken to a hotel or a service apartment, and they will have all the traumas of moving, but within comfort. But equally now, at 13 minutes or 14 minutes past 1 o'clock, today the 3rd of December, there is another family on a rickety, leaking boat crossing the Mediterranean with no idea whether they're actually going to drown or land. The difference, the journey is the same. It's not quite the same, but in theory it's the same. They're going from one place to another. But the circumstances are different, because when that family on their first class tickets land at Heathrow Airport, they have a soft landing. When these refugees land, hopefully the other side of the Mediterranean, they have a whole new set of struggles and problems to address. So we have a situation where the background to many of the artists, 2/3 of our 1,300 artists come from emigre stock. The journey is universal. It is a Jewish experience that transcends its Jewishness. Whether it's Sudanese, Syrians, Iraqis, Africans, Caribbeans, Indians, Bengalis, it doesn't matter. When you move, the movement is the same. Whether you're wealthy or poor, the universality of the experience is the same. And that's what Ben Uri Collection is about. 2/3 of our artists were emigres. 380 artists come from 35 different countries of birth. Think of the pictures that you will have seen. The picture in the hall of the Israelites moving. the families in their traditional locale, but with windows that look out into bright lights and industry. It's all about the journeys of movement, the war room, as we call it, pre-war, during war, and post-war. All these experiences are presented by artists who have been on the move, and regrettably, the vast majority forced, not a matter of choice. So what is a museum all about? Well, a museum has to be about adding value. If we cannot add value to you, the visitor, there is no merit in you visiting, and there's no merit in us being here. Would you go to a restaurant that you didn't enjoy? Would you recommend it? Would you tell other people to go to see a movie that you fell asleep in? So the institution has to add incremental value. We also have to, because we happen to be in London, we have to be able to compete with the best. And London is stuffed full of the best. It's the best in the world. Tate, the British Museum, the National Gallery, the National Portrait Gallery. I could go on and on and on. We have the best culture in the world. How is a small museum supposed to be able to compete? Because you only have a limited amount of time to spend. So we have to be smarter. We have to add value, add incremental benefit to the visitor. So what is, I keep going back because it's a question that we asked ourselves time and time and time again, 15 years ago when we, to quote a certain politician, we established new Ben Uri. What is our USP? What is the special addition that we can make to society that makes us worthwhile? And it's about social integration. It's about finding and providing opportunities for the general public from whichever ethnicity to stand together and become engaged with what they are looking at and engage with the person who's standing beside them. When you're practicing art, by the way, or music, or dance, differences melt away. Whoever you're standing and sharing a studio with, or painting, or dancing, or composing with, it doesn't matter. The differences melt away. When you're standing in front of a great piece of art, your engagement may well be different, but the person next to you who happens to be of a different color, or a different race, or different religion, they're also engaging with that picture. And there is a familiarity, there is a bond that emerges for half a second between you when you look at each other, because you know that you become engaged with that picture. That's the opportunity that art can actually provide society. That's the opportunity that Ben Uri works so hard to try to actually deliver. What's the future formula? From this, which is a classic Jewish family life at the end of the 19th century. Principally one room, all family together. This is Sabbath rest. And I always joke with my curators, and who don't always appreciate it, when I say to them that the guy over there, he will be the son-in-law. He's a little bit distant. He's not painted so close. To this, when they're on the move, forced journeys. To this, a new country with new colleagues at work from a different nationality, a different country. To this, bright, vibrant optimism. Life is good. Tough, but good. The journey was tough, but there was a destination. And that's the story that we want to tell, and we want to show and share with other communities. So our future plan is not just a museum, not just a fusty old, dusty old building with lots of great pictures. We want it to be alive, we want it to be vibrant. We want to show the journeys of other emigre artists. So in the past 3 years, we've shown Korean artists emigre. We've shown Ghanaian artists emigre. We've shown Caribbean artists emigre. We've shown African artists, some emigre, some not, because they've emigrated to other countries. We open our doors to share our space with artists from other communities. And the big plan, the big vision, and I just want you to just imagine for a second two things. One is a building where on one floor there could be up to 10 different communities telling their stories of their journeys to London. Because how much do we know about other communities rather than our own? How much do we know about their journeys to London? How much do we know about their experiences in London, their challenges in London, and how similar they are actually to our own? And when these stories are told, we, the establishment, tell them. Our point of difference is that we want these communities to tell their own stories to their own communities and others. And then another floor with a contemporary art exhibition theming through artists from these different communities. And every 4 to 6 months, these communities changing, because I don't know how old you are, but I know that I'm getting plenty old enough, but there's no way that I'm going to live long enough to see half of the communities. So 380 different communities in London. So if we have 10 every 4 to 6 months, then the museum's got to be around for a very long time to get through everybody. So it's fresh, it's relevant, it's vibrant. And then on top of these two floors, the classic Ben Uri Museum involving education, well-being, acquisitions, collections, temporary exhibitions, publications, everything that you know that Ben Uri produces. And then one added plus. Could Berson, Lazar Berson, our founder, 100 years ago have imagined that the collection that he started off and got everybody to contribute to, and in many ways bought, could end up being a world-famous collection? How rich London is, having all its collections, including Ben Uri. Just close your eyes and imagine London having, in 50 years' time, 50 more collections from different communities that have made their home in London. How rich would we be? So I say to you, enjoy Ben Uri, understand Ben Uri, support Ben Uri because we need it. But whenever you see a bagel, just give it a wink and thank it. Thank you very much.